Libertarianism seems to be a go-to position these days. It is a very often used label and has become almost synonymous with the ethos of Western civilization, particularly America. Yet it remains a marginal position in politics and otherwise. But why is that? One of the important things to realize about libertarianism is that it focuses on individual freedom. The way freedom works, at least in a given context, it is fairly easy to chalk out what should be done. Unlike when you are crafting a law restricting freedom for some cause, you do not have to set a limit or threshold or trade off between freedom and good. The answer in most cases is known immediately as the question is uttered. Just like you don't have to quibble over whether freedom of speech should be available to fringe groups, you don't have to set the line separating drugs which should be banned and drugs which should be legalized, or in many cases the types of guns and arms an individual can possess, or the voluntary trade that can occur between two individuals, and discrimination and freedom of association laws. If indeed the libertarian position is quite clear, and freedom if applied in consistent manner leads to the conclusion of libertarianism, while there is no state that is libertarian, considering that individual freedom has been a sort of ethos of Western civilization at least since the Enlightenment. The problem is that most of the perceived libertarians or freedom loving individuals are fixated on a few contexts, from the marijuana loving crowd to the individuals that are very pro consumerism and free market capitalism, or those involved in LGBT rights or against states' imposition of religion. In other matters, they do not adopt as strong a position or even choose anti-freedom position, advocating state enforcement of some value. So that freedom crowd that marches the streets wearing pride on their sleeves is suddenly gone when it is not the freedom that they like so much or benefit from, both ideologically and personally. Some of them may write words of support to estranged business owners, but the zeal is missing. Of course, as motivation towards a goal and acceptance of goal are two different things. For actual libertarians, by whom I mean people whose definition of importance of freedom is not restricted to few domains that align with their other beliefs. Two, is side with these groups who want to have particular freedom and help them win, thus fulfilling their cause of a limited government. As a consequence, they are only able to push for limited government in cases that are brought on the table. Those that are not remain as restrictive as ever. In one sense, that is a dangerous position to be in as it may result in further collapse in authoritarianism, as rights are granted without responsibilities and perceived to be inherent, and responsibilities are litigated against by groups in power or never brought reasonably in public discourse. And even the term limited government is a misnomer. What does limited government even mean? Consider, for example, the case of abortion. Is protecting the unborn leading to expansion of government? Technically, yes, but so does legislating against murder and theft. Of course, that means that the principle behind libertarianism is not limited government. The principle is usually something else, like non-aggression principle. A limited government is a benefit of libertarianism and evoked precisely for reasons which actually answer as to why libertarianism is as popular as it is, due to three reasons. The first one is mistrust of government. The polarizing nature of politics and exploration of extremities on all sides make people fear the state and the power it can wield over their lives and beliefs. People are also tired of political pushbacks and divisive talks. As foundations divulge, common ground is being lost. There is no united agreement even over whether people entering illegally in America, for example, are doing something wrong or criminal, which is not surprising though, as it is the type of the behavior civil rights activists have been supporting in some form or the other over the years. The second reason that seems to be in the works is that with rising comfort, even those things become oppression which were never imagined to be earlier. Affluent societies tend to not like discomfort or coercion, as there are many things to explore and many things to be experienced. Though there is risk of going overboard in protecting these things by decree of law, the oppression narrative is the dominant one on all sides. The third reason is strange, yet perhaps most prominent, as to why libertarian position gains popularity, mostly in some sort of an intellectual or pseudo-intellectual fields. It is due to the fact that freedom is easiest position to argue from. You can tread over thresholds and nuances, refuse to take obligations, and put the responsibility on a free economy or society. It allows people to circumvent supposed moral ideologues on both sides, and even stay away from defining what flourishing and bounds of progress even mean. It doesn't answer whether freedom is a solution, even though it is an easy answer. In any case, looking at three reasons, it becomes quite clear that two of them have nothing to do with libertarian philosophy strictly. Mistrust of government and divergence of moral foundations, as real and justified as they may be, do not strike a core chord of libertarianism. For a libertarian, in principle, ought not to support government even if it is doing something perceived good by him and almost all people, because it would still involve, most possibly, some sort of coercion on those at the wrong end, however few they may be. If coercion is the mother goose in the gaggle, then it is fair to assume that it is what libertarian philosophy in principle is built around. But is coercion bad in and of itself? Indeed, if it is, then even social coercion would be immoral, though even not maybe at same level as governmental coercion, and libertarianism quickly ends up being chaotic. And if coercion is bad, would enforcement of non-aggression principle not qualify as coercion in itself? The ethical and moral philosophy around coercion has been sparsely discussed and remains as elusive as ever to the people. And this is what leads to libertarianism's marginal position. For morals that cannot be enforced mean practically nothing, and moral are the highest odds. And in absence of a clear answer, it remains puzzling as to why someone ought to be a libertarian or even an anarchist, because the moral question has not been answered, even discussed, sufficiently to form any coherent moral framework, and hatred of coercion seems not to emerge from any level that deals in some sort of ethical or moral metaphysics or philosophy, but some sort of emotional angst against it, which may be justified, but which does not form a clear root of ethos and makes libertarianism remain fringe in any discussion that is deeper than the surface.